Haunted Events of Summer '98. The terrifying truth exposed behind sinister secrets. Sarah lived in Cedar Ridge, where the sun dipped lazily behind the perfect white picket fences, casting an unsettling shadow over the playgrounds filled with laughter. The town buzzed with summer evenings, the sweet scent of barbecues mingling with the lingering sounds of children playing. But that summer, everything changed. As she returned home from another exhausting night shift, a chill clawed at her spine, a whispering dread wrapping around her, growing tighter by the hour. Something was not right in this seemingly perfect neighborhood. There were glances exchanged among neighbors, hushed conversations that faded when she walked by. Each night, the porch lights glowed like flickering candles, illuminating faces that wore anxious smiles. But behind those smiles, secrets festered. The friendly greetings felt loaded, heavy with unspoken fear. Little did Sarah know, an unseen monster lurked just beyond the edge of normalcy, waiting. The first child disappeared on a night when the moon hid behind thick clouds. A vibrant little girl with curls and a mischievous grin had been playing hide and seek. Even Ethan, the boy from down the street, had just boasted about how much fun they had together. Now, all that was left was the eerie silence that descended like a thick fog, engulfing Cedar Ridge in a blanket of unease. The laughter stopped, replaced by whispers, rumors that snaked through the community like poison. A shadow of doom hung heavy over every household but the mayor's. He represented safety, the heart of Cedar Ridge, but Sarah felt a nagging uncertainty. Why did he smile so much while the rest of them looked haunted? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks, the children vanished, and a dread so thick it felt tangible charged the air. Sarah's heart raced. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. That night, returning from the grocery store, she noticed Ethan lingering on the sidewalk. His eyes sparkled with an unsettling brightness as he bragged about the mayor, pumping out praises like he was entranced. Panic gripped her. It was the way he watched Lucas, as if sizing him up, assessing his worth. As darkness settled, she walked home, her pulse escalating with dread. The night seemed alive, vibrating with energy, a whispering chant echoing faintly from her neighbors' porches. As she stepped into her yard, an unholy chill swept through her. The ragged chorus twisted her insides. She needed to protect Lucas. She needed to understand what was happening. A sudden glint caught her attention, a figure just behind her. Sarah turned, heart pounding. There stood Ethan, grinning, a flicker of something not quite human in his eyes. As panic flooded her, darkness wrapped around her heart. She realized the true horror of Cedar Ridge wasn't just the missing children. It was the sinister secrets behind every porch light, a collective silence that wrapped around the neighborhood like a noose. With her mind racing and breath shallow, she questioned what kind of horror awaited her. How long could she ignore the monstrous silence before it swallowed her whole? Ever deeper into the abyss of fear, she knew she had to confront the truth, or risk it claiming her son. The night whispered her name, and the choice lay heavy upon her. Would she unearth the horrors lurking within her community, or would she be consumed by the growing darkness? The sun rose the next morning with a deceptive calm, washing over Cedar Ridge in hues of gold that felt wrong, tainted. Sarah stepped outside, hesitating at her front door. The air buzzed, heavy with a tension she could not yet place. Lucas was still sleeping, a comforting innocence enveloping him, but her stomach churned with an urgent need to uncover the truth. She left her house, her breath coming in sharp bursts, not trusting the silence. The street, once alive with laughter, seemed like a ghost town. Houses loomed before her, their windows dark, as if they too were hiding secrets. She quickened her pace, caught between the desire to escape and the need to uncover what had gripped her neighborhood. At the end of the block, Ethan was there again, his presence sending icy fingers down her spine. This time, He was not alone. A group of children stood behind him, their eyes glazed, expressions blank. They moved slowly, jerking slightly as if they were mere puppets on strings. Panic surged within Sarah. What had happened to them? She pressed on, pretending to ignore Ethan's fixed stare. It was like walking through a nightmare, each shadow creeping closer. As she turned the corner, she overheard snippets of conversation from the neighbors, their voices low and hushed. The mayor said it's just a phase. He wouldn't let anything happen. We can't go against him. We can't. The whispers burned in her ears. The mayor? The very man who represented safety? Clenching her fists, she knew she had to find out what was being hidden. Determined, she approached the town hall, the towering structure at the heart of Cedar Ridge that had been the pride of the community. As she entered, the air inside was stale, the light dimmed by the heavy curtains drawn across the windows. The receptionist offered her a forced smile, rife with a mixture of fear and compliance. With each step deeper into the building, Sarah felt the oppressive weight of something sinister crouched within its walls, as if it awaited her arrival. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked, a slight tremor in her voice. "I need to speak to the mayor," Sarah stated, her voice steady, despite the turmoil swirling inside. The receptionist looked hesitant, casting a furtive glance beyond the glass doors. "Yes, busy, ma'am. You could leave a message." "I won't leave until I speak with him," Sarah insisted, her throat dry with fear. Just then, the heavy oak doors swung open, revealing the mayor, his smile wide and welcoming, yet everything about him felt wrong. "Ah, Sarah! Such a pleasure to see you!" His voice dripped with false charm. Before Sarah could retort, she heard a faint rustle behind her. Hairs stood on end. The children from the street had followed her, eyes wide and unblinking. They stood in the shadows, a sinister echo of each other. "Mommy?" one called out in a monotone that sent chills racing through her. The mayor's smile faltered for just a moment, but it was enough. There was something lurking beneath that facade. "Let us talk," he said, gesturing with an unnerving calm, but behind his eyes, Sarah sensed a monstrous fury barely concealed. As she was ushered into his office, the door creaked shut behind her, trapping her in his lair. The moment the latch clicked, dread surged through her veins. This couldn't end well. Sarah realized she was not just fighting for the truth, she was entangled in a web that had swallowed Cedar Ridge whole. As her gaze fell on the flickering shadows in the room, she felt something, a presence, looming close. "What are you hiding?" she demanded, the fight rising within her. But before the mayor could answer, the lights flickered violently, plunging the room into darkness. A cacophony of whispers filled the space, rising higher and higher, drowning her in fear. In that moment of chaos, she caught a glimpse of the children outside, their faces grotesque and twisted, reflected in the glass. She realized with horror that the monsters of Cedar Ridge weren't just lurking in the shadows. They were standing right in front of her. What was it that she would unveil? Would she escape the tightening grip of the town's dark secret, or would she become yet another victim of its whispers? The darkness enveloped Sarah like a suffocating blanket. Her heart raced, pounding violently against her ribcage, the ominous whispers crescendoing around her. The mayor's figure was barely discernible, a dark silhouette against the deepening gloom, yet she felt his presence pressing down on her, suffocating her with the weight of his unyielding stare. "Stop it!" she yelled, desperation fueling her voice. "What have you done to the children?" "Children?" he echoed with an unsettling calm, as if the very notion was foreign. "What are you talking about?" The darkness shifted, and for a fleeting second she thought she saw the children's faces flash before her, contorted with despair. They weren't puppets, not completely. There was life behind those glassy eyes, something trapped, pleading for release. Despite the terror clawing at her throat, Sarah forced herself to hold her ground. "I saw them, Mayor. They're not themselves. They're lost." Suddenly, the whispers turned into frantic murmurs, echoing through the hall, pooling together in a twisted chant. Help us, the children's voices blended into one, creating a haunting symphony of dread that swept through her like a tide. The mayor seemed unmoved, too composed in the face of Sarah's terror. He leaned forward, shadows dancing across his face, revealing a smile that felt more like a grimace. You should really listen to them, Sarah. They know where they belong. Belong? They're scared. They're not just children anymore. What is happening to this town? Panic surged within her, making her voice tremble on the edge of a scream. The air grew colder. Sarah could see her breath misting in front of her, swirling around her like a spectral haze. The mayor's smile widened, but his eyes darkened, becoming voids of malice. What you need to understand, he said, his voice low and chilling, is that the darkness brings strength. Together, we possess invincible power. This wasn't just about the children or the town anymore. It was about control, about something far more sinister that had taken root in Cedar Ridge. Sarah's blood ran cold as she grasped the implication. The mayor was not just a man. He was a would-be puppet master, orchestrating the very nightmares that plagued them. Before she could formulate a response, a flash of light illuminated the room, momentarily banishing the shadows. A door at the back of the office swung open, and from the gaping darkness beyond, a figure stepped forth. It was Lucas, her son, entranced and walking into the lion's den, his eyes devoid of their familiar spark, replaced with that same unsettling glaze. Lucas! She screamed, lunging towards him, but a cold hand from the mayor clamped around her arm, holding her back with a grip of iron. Let him go! She demanded, fighting against his hold. The whispers escalated, now a chaotic symphony of fear, reverberating off the walls, as the children outside pressed closer, their faces a mosaic of yearning lost lives tethered to a fate from which they couldn't escape. Mommy! Lucas's voice broke through the cacophony, eerily calm, yet she could hear the sorrow behind it. It's time for what? The thought sent a jolt of terror through her heart. What was this time they were speaking of? In that moment, she realized. It was just Cedar Ridge. It was the children, woven into the fabric of a dark scheme. The mayor was not just hiding the truth from her. He wanted her to become part of it. With a sudden, desperate ferocity, Sarah twisted out of his grip, racing towards Lucas. She couldn't let him cross into that abyss, not without a fight. She couldn't lose him, but the air shifted again. Just as she reached for her son, the flickering lights surged brighter, illuminating an unholy scene. The children had now completely surrounded the room, eyes gleaming, voices merging into a chilling harmony of demands. Join us, the rhythmic chant enveloped Sarah, each word clawing at her sanity, pulling her into the depths of their collective darkness. As they drew closer, she realized she was on the brink of an unthinkable choice. To rescue Lucas might mean forsaking her own life, and to unravel the truth might put them all in the grip of an evil she could scarcely comprehend. Would she break the hold of Cedar Ridge, or would the darkness claim her and her son forever? Before the chaos swallowed her whole, she felt the mayor's triumphant gaze, sensing the culmination of his plan beyond comprehension. What was it truly that bound Cedar Ridge, and would she dare to unearth it? The question lingered in the air, heavier than the shadows that enveloped them. The chant grew louder, drowning out everything but the resonance of despair. Join us, it echoed in her mind, a never-ending loop, and Sarah felt the potency of their collective sorrow wrapping around her. The children's faces blinked into focus, fractured memories of her boy mingling with ghostly visages, hollowed out by fear and despair. Lucas! She screamed again, her voice cracking under the weight of emotion. She pushed through the throng of kids. They swayed like a storm, shifting toward her with agonizing slowness, shrouding her in their chill. Every glare felt like ice slicing through her skin, the vibrant energy from their eyes more sobering than any cold wind. But she had to reach him. Her son was lost in their midst, as if caught in a storm of broken souls. Just as her fingers nearly brushed Lucas's shoulder, a rift split the children, revealing the mayor looming at the center of the chaos. His smile was a grotesque mask, twisted into something almost hollow. See? They've summoned him back, he taunted, the words slippery with malice. You've lost him, Sarah. He is more than just your son now. He is part of something greater. Don't you want to join him in this power? Never! She shrieked, fear hardening her resolve. I'll fight, tooth and nail, if I have to. The mayor's laughter reverberated. The air thickened ominously, and the lights dimmed again, casting long, stretching shadows that clawed at the walls. You still don't understand. This is strength, this is unity. Weakness is being alone. The dark silhouette of the mayor deepened, a black smudge against the flickering glow. In that moment, he appeared to swell larger, eclipsing the very hope she clung to. With an almost hypnotic rhythm, he beckoned the children back toward him, and their chants morphed into a cacophony of cries, pleading and feral. Help us, it was a song of torment, an invitation to join their despair. Blast of despair shot through Sarah as she fought against it. She couldn't give in. Not now. They didn't need salvation, they needed a confrontation. Channeling every ounce of her strength, she tore her eyes from the mayor, focusing instead on Lucas. Remember who you are, she shouted, her voice a beacon piercing through the storm of whispers. You're my son. You're Lucas, the boy who loves soccer, who laughs at the dumbest jokes. For an agonizing heartbeat, she caught a flicker of recognition, a spark of life behind the glaze clouding his eyes. But it was fleeting, lost the moment the shadows sealed tight around them as the children surged forward, their collective despair a tangible force. She felt the darkness chilling her bones, nipping at her resolve like frost creepily exploring warm flesh. With renewed urgency, she lunged, desperate to bridge the gap. Lucas, please. Fight this. We can escape together. Suddenly, the children stilled. For a breathless moment, silence enveloped the room. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, echoing in the void that filled the space between her and her son. Then, from the depths of the shadows, the mayor's voice sliced through. Time is slipping, Sarah. Don't you see? The darkness grows stronger with every moment you hesitate. As if commanded, the children began to jostle, their wide eyes now reflecting something else, something far worse, something sinister hidden beneath their facade of innocence. A wave of dread washed over Sarah, grounding her in the realization that whatever power the mayor held over them, they were as much a part of it as he was. But was there still a chance for Lucas to break free? Join us, came the whisper again, but now it was accompanied by something sinister, a glimpse of shadows molding into figures, grotesque and alive, rushing toward her and her son. In that terrifying moment, as the shadows lurked closer, Sarah realized she had one chance to save them both. She must either fight the mayor's tyranny or risk sealing their fates forever. Her hands clenched into fists. I will not let this happen. But before she could confront the mayor head-on, a shrill sound shattered the silence. The door at the back creaked open again, revealing a flash of blinding light that seemed to draw the whispered chorus toward it, an alternative pulling them away from her. As the shadows recoiled, a horrific choice loomed ahead. Would she follow, embracing the light and the promise of escape, or stand her ground against the encroaching fear even if it meant losing Lucas forever? The mayor's triumphant laughter echoed in the spaces between, a foreshadowing of what lay ahead. Would the light reveal the truth or plunge them deeper into the abyss? The uncertainty hung thick in the air, a dark promise of more horrors to come. Sarah's heart raced as the light pulsed like a heartbeat, captivating and terrifying. It flickered brightly, casting long shadows that twisted and contorted behind her. Every instinct screamed at her to flee towards it, to escape the nightmare lurking around her. But she couldn't leave Lucas behind. Lucas! I'm right here! She cried, her voice slicing through the oppressive silence. She could see his face frozen in a mask of confusion and pain. The other children moved, a dark tide pulling him away. She felt the pull, thick and suffocating, trying to reel her back into the depths of despair. Sarah, his voice was weak, almost lost amidst the chaos. Fight it! She yelled, hoping her determination would break through the haze clouding his mind. Remember our times at the park, flying kites, running wild, focus on those memories. Fight for that. The light flickered again, swirling shadows breaking apart momentarily before converging back, inching closer with each beat of her heart. The shadows seemed alive, reflecting the torment of lost children poised at the edge of an abyss. Join us, help us, it began again, echoing off the walls like a twisted memory. But there was something more this time, something darker. The voices of the children merged with an anguished sound, a wail of yearning that clawed at Sarah's insides, threatening to drown her in hopelessness. Then, from deep within the swirling darkness, the mayor's silhouette stretched and twisted like smoke, his empty eyes boring into her soul. You want to save him? But it's too late, Sarah. The light won't protect you now. It's only a lurid trap. Shivers ran down her spine, each word a poisoned dart. The mayor stepped forward, taking advantage of her wavering resolve. He raised a hand, and the shadows surged, towering over her like looming giants. Come forth, young ones! He cried, his voice crawling into her mind. The children turned toward him, their faces shifting between innocence and an agonizing void. Join with our strength, embrace this unity. Leave the grief behind. Together, we can inherit the world. Fear sliced through her as she saw the mayor's grip tightening around Lucas. She needed to act fast. Heart pounding, she stepped further into the swirling shadows, her fists clenched, determination surging through her veins. No! She screamed, charging toward him. We are not weak. We are not lost. We are family. And then, startling clarity broke through a flash of remembrance. Something inside her stirred, igniting a flicker of newfound strength. She'd faced doubt before, felt despair, but never failed to hope. If she was going to push back against this wretched darkness, she had to embrace the light, but not for her escape, for Lucas' salvation. The shadows writhed, hesitating as if catching scent of her resolve. She stretched her arms wide, the shocking whiteness around her highlighting the fear swirling in their eyes. See him! She shouted, directing her words at the children, focusing on the pain they bore. You don't have to suffer. You can remember joy. You can be free. A gasp rippled through the crowd, the chant faltering. She could feel the hesitation, the flickering memories clawing back to the surface within them. But just as hope shimmered, the mayor lunged forward, shadows swirling around him like wings, angry at her defiance. Foolish woman! They belong to me! His voice thundered, and the air shook with his fury. The children stalled, caught in a tug-of-war between moving forward or retreating back to the darkness. That moment of doubt spread like ice, igniting the shadows around them. Stand firm! Sarah yelled, her voice cutting through the gathering storm. Remember who you are. The light pulsed again, fierce and blinding, as if the darkness itself was wary of it. The choice lay before them, a path split by forces pulling in opposing directions. Then the ground trembled beneath her feet. The children's fearful faces morphed, shifting between hope and despair as both the shadows and the light fought for dominance over their fragile souls. Would the light finally banish the darkness? Or would Sarah's last desperate plea push her boy deeper into the shadows? Sarah's breath hitched as the shadows drew closer, their unnatural forms reaching out. But just then, she felt a tug at her sleeve, a soft, familiar grip. Her eyes widened as she turned. Mom? It was Lucas. His voice sliced through the tension. But as she looked closer, the children surged forward again, fueled by the mayor's sinister laughter. As they pressed against her, Sarah realized the true horror of their plight. Even if Lucas was there, he was still lost. Are you going to leave us? He asked, wide-eyed, and a gasp caught in her throat. The choice was clear, but the weight of it was unbearable. Would fleeing the light now mean rejecting the last connection before surrendering to the abyss? The question hung in the air, a terrible promise of both salvation and doom. Sarah's hands trembled as she stared into Lucas's pleading eyes, the innocence of his gaze striking her heart like a dagger. No! I won't leave you! I promise! Her voice wavered as she strained against the oncoming tide of shadows. The children surrounding them seemed more like harbingers of despair than allies, their faces shifting like dark mists, absorbing light and joy. The mayor's laughter echoed, cruel and sharp, slicing through the fragile threads of hope she tried desperately to weave. Such naivete! He mocked, moving closer, shadows thrumming with a life of their own. inching toward Lucas as if to claim him. You think love can save you? We are stronger together in darkness. Sarah lunged forward, pulling Lucas closer, her grip tightening like a vice. You'll see, Lucas. You will remember. The light pulsed again, growing brighter, illuminating their surroundings in a flash like lightning. The children hesitated, faces flickering with doubt. The mayor's expression twisted with fury. You're weakening them. I won't allow it. He unleashed a wave of shadows, tendrils sweeping towards Sarah, longing to enshroud her in their suffocating embrace. Hold on, Lucas! She yelled, feeling the breath of the shadows at her back, icy fingers grazing her skin. Stand with me. Remember our family. Remember who we are. What did she truly mean by that? The words felt hollow, fragile as glass, but they were all she had. Then came a whisper beneath the chaos, a sliver of memory cutting through the turbulence a day at the park, their laughter mingling with the chirping of birds, the wind catching the kite, lifting it high into the blue sky. Memories. The light responded to her thoughts, flaring and engulfing her in warmth. She felt Lucas squeeze her hand, his grip tightening as the warmth spread, pushing back against the proximity of despair. For a heartbeat, she saw clarity reflected in his eyes, a glimpse of recognition. Mom? He murmured again, voice barely above a whisper, the shadows trembling at the edges of their world. Yes. She pleaded, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're not lost. You're here with me. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if her words pierced through the veil binding them. Then crack. The ground shifted violently, the cavern pulsating with the energy of their struggle. The children inched closer, whispers melding into a singular haunting chant. Leave with us, be free. No! Sarah shouted, cutting through their cries. Look at me. Do you want to be free? Her lungs burned, the air electric with tension. Find your joy. Don't listen to him. Fight back. The light erupted in a fierce blaze, causing the shadows to shudder, darting back as if scalded. A flicker of hope ignited in the children's eyes, a hesitant reprieve against the suffocating dark. But the mayor was relentless. Enough! He roared, and the shadows surged, enveloping Lucas completely. Mom! His scream tore through her, raw and filled with a frantic desperation. Sarah's heart broke. She lunged again, fighting against the tide, performance desperate but inexplicably brave. I won't lose you! She cried, fighting. It was a struggle, an impossible battle. The darkness loomed ever closer, jaws ready to swallow him whole. Lucas's form shimmered, flickering like an old film caught between frames. With every passing second, he faded further, watching her from a distance she could never bridge alone. Choose, Mom, he whispered, voice thin like smoke, eyes reflecting the deepest pain. It was the question that froze her blood, a choice that could either save or doom them both. A darkness only found in nightmares tickled at the edges of her mind. The mayor's voice crawled deeper than before. Yes, choose. Let the boy embrace the light, or surrender him to me. You are powerless without sacrifice. Every heartbeat felt like a finality closing in. The electric hum of desperation surged again, reverberating through her bones. But the light, its promise, warmed her, whispering the choice through frightened lips. Could she forsake her chance at freedom for his misheld bond? Or would her love be his end? In that swirling chaos, something stirred, the faintest echo of strength rising against fear. Lucas? She croaked, voice trembling, summons that slipped from her lips like a prayer, as shadows spiraled ominously around them. Mom? And just like that, an answer lingered, shrouded in uncertainty, casting a shadow of dread. The ground beneath them quaked, the mayor's shadow flaring in anger. What would she choose? Not now, Sarah, there was more at play. But what? The seconds stretched, suffocating them both, and beneath the encroaching darkness, Sarah felt the shattering pressure of the impending decision loom ominously over them. What awaited them in that abyss? Would she stand firm, or would she surrender everything to the darkness? The shadows writhed and twisted, hungry whispers clawing at Sarah's mind. She could feel the weight of the darkness bearing down on her shoulders, and for a moment she faltered, her breath hitching in her throat. The laughter of the mayor echoed around her, chilling and relentless. "Join us, Sarah!" "Let go of the boy," he taunted, his voice a silken thread of danger that coiled tighter around her resolve. "He has nothing but a fleeting memory now, a mere echo of who he once was. Embrace the power of the dark. You'd be freeing yourself, gaining so much more than you'd ever lose." "No!" she shouted, her voice cracking against the storm of despair. It felt futile, but deep within, the unbearable love she held for Lucas ignited a furious flame. Her memory surged, his laughter ringing true like a vibrant bell, his tiny hand gripping hers tightly on their family outings. Could that spark illuminate the suffocating shadows? "Lucas, hold on to me. Focus on the light. Just remember." Her voice trembled, but she fought against the rising tide of shadows, desperate to keep that flicker alive in her son's eyes. The pain on his face twisted her heart, emotions crashing through her like a violent wave. "I can't let go!" His voice broke into a faint cry, shimmering against the murky void. "Mom, please! You have to choose." Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a drum, a wild rhythm echoing desperation and dread. A decision. Could she trade her sanity? Could she willingly face the abyss if it meant saving him? The shadows flickered, left and right like a snake coiling for a strike. She felt an icy hand wrap around her ankle, dragging her down, the cold seeping into her skin, chilling her soul. "You must make a sacrifice," the mayor hissed, a serpent hidden behind a facade of charm. Suddenly, the cavern erupted with spine-chilling howls. The children pressed closely, their hollow eyes dim and longing, mouths chanting monotonously, "Leave with us, be free." They grew closer, their hands reaching out, begging for someone to join them in their dark paradise. Sarah's breath came out in ragged gasps. She wouldn't turn to the shadows. Each child's wail clawed at her heart, but she wouldn't let madness prevail. "No! You're not lost. You're still alive. Fight against the mayor." The warm light surged again, illuminating her path, a golden beacon cutting through the murk. Then, a sudden realization hit her: the mayor thrived on fear, and the power he held arose from despair and uncertainty. "Lucas!" she screamed. "Fight! Remember our kite! Remember the joy! Break his hold over you!" A flicker of light ignited within the cavern. Lucas blinked, confusion washing over him as the shadows shrieked in fear. They trembled at the memory of laughter entwined with love, their grips slackening just a fraction. "Mom, I can feel you!" There was a glimmer in his voice, a thread that pulled her closer. The mayor's fury exploded. "No! This can't be! You're both fools!" He seethed, shadows snapping over him like a furious storm. "Stand with me, Lucas!" she shouted, jaw clenched tight with defiance. Yet, out of the chaos, a piercing shriek broke through. The cavern trembled, stones rattling beneath the pressure of the dark forces. In that moment, she felt the cold metal of a familiar object in her pocket, the locket containing their picture, brittle with time but filled with memories. This is what binds us," she whispered, frantically fumbling with it, and trusting its power to unveil the truth. Would her love be enough? "No!" the mayor roared, dark tendrils lashing around them in a frenzied dance. But Sarah's heart was resolute, igniting a blaze within her as she clutched the locket. She threw her head back, heart racing, and cried out, "This is love! This is my choice! We will not be shackled by you!" The ground shuddered violently as shadows recoiled, the air crackling with palpable electricity, and as the locket gleamed golden, Sarah realized dark forces were slowly unraveling. Would the light prevail against the unrelenting dark? Would they be free, or would this choice plunge them deeper into despair? "Mom!" Lucas's voice pierced through, but the darkness still howled, taunting her with its chilling embrace. In a heartbeat, chaos reigned, unraveling before them, and Sarah grasped the moment. Was it too late to pull them both back from the edge? Would her final choice be their salvation or their doom? The shadows lunged, desperate to reclaim their lost grip. The mayor's face contorted in a mask of fury and desperation, shadows swirling around him like a storm. The cavern reverberated with a chaotic echo, shaking the very ground beneath their feet. "Fools!" he bellowed, his voice seeping with venom. "You think love can save you? You think this light holds any power against what you are about to face?" Clarity began to slip away like grains of sand through her fingers. Beyond the locket's golden glow, the hollering children still reached out, their eyes dark pits of despair, but the warmth of her memories shielded Sarah. "Trust in the light, Lucas!" she shouted, clutching his hand tighter, anchoring him through the tumult. Suddenly, the chains of darkness recoiled as flickers of joy broke through the laughter of their shared moments, a fragmented memory of flying kites in the sun. Lucas blinked, his eyes widening as the memory started to weave into something tangible, something stronger than the mayor's malevolence. "I can see it. Mom, I can remember," he gasped, his voice trembling but alive with flickering hope. "Yes," Sarah cried out, relief washing over her yet mixing with dread. She could feel the roots of the shadows still digging in, and the sinister draw of the mayor's influence clawed at her sanity. "Keep holding on. Remember everything." Every joyful moment they shared surged through her, becoming a blazing wall of light against the dark. But the mayor wasn't finished. With a shout that echoed off the cavern walls, he unleashed a tempest of shadows, the chill in the air biting into her skin. "You think this is a game? You will suffer. You will regret this choice," he hissed, tendrils cracking against the stone like whips. Sarah stumbled back, the icy breath of despair lapping at her heels. A chill ran up her spine as she felt the shadows close in, felt their sharp, clammy fingers grazing her skin. Panic clawed at her throat. Was this truly the end? Instinctively, she held the locket higher, feeling Lucas's warmth flicker beside her. "We will break this curse. Together." Flashes of light exploded from the locket, casting beams of gold that sliced through the dense darkness, illuminating half-formed shapes writhing in the blackness. "No!" The mayor's voice was a howl, rising above the chaos. The shadows howled in protest, retreating slightly from the radiant beams cutting through their influence. "This is not over." But as the locket glowed brighter, Sarah felt the energy surge and her confidence swell. She turned to Lucas, his face illuminated by the soft, golden light, and when their eyes met, the connection sparked. "We have to believe, Lucas. We can't let him win." "Yes, Mom," he replied, voice steady. "Let us show him the truth." United, they focused on the flicker of gold now bursting forth from the locket, weaving a tapestry of their love and memories, their days spent at the park, baking cookies, the warmth of each other's laughter. Each memory held a flicker of light, sending shadows reeling. But then, a bone-chilling silence fell as the mayor staggered back, a look of surprise twisting his features. "What is this? You think your love can outshine the dark? I'll take everything from you." Without warning, he reached within the tides of shadow, pulling forth grotesque figures that morphed into monstrous reflections of the children. Sarah's heart raced as fear flooded in. The darkness wasn't done, it had a form, a face, and it intended to take them both. "Keep the light alive!" Sarah screamed, despair igniting anew. The cavern began to tremble, danger encroaching as the monstrous children approached, eyes wide and hunger evident. In this moment of horror, Sarah realized that to conquer the mayor, they needed to confront the ultimate truth behind their own pain, their collective suffering, a truth that might unleash more horror than they had ever faced. As the monstrous figures surged forward, hungry for despair, Sarah's breath caught. What could be worse than the depths they were already in? The ground quaked beneath them, and shadows writhed and whispered lies, feeding off her fear. With everything hanging in the balance, could they withstand the truth that threatened to unravel all they held dear? Would the shimmering light of love be enough to battle the shadows birthed from their deepest fears? They were about to find out. Sarah's heart pounded in rhythm with the trembling earth. The chaos around them escalated as the monstrous reflections stepped closer, white-hot dread singeing her skin like flames. Each of those twisted forms was an echo of innocence turned inside out, a grotesque mockery of everything they had lost. "Mom! They look like. Lucas stammered, eyes wide with terror. "Don't look at them. she yelled, crushing his hand further. The urgency in her voice barely masked the rising fear inside her. The shadows around them were thickening, entangling, clawing at her resolve, begging her to surrender. Focus on the light. But it was hard to stay grounded. The figures of the children loomed larger, their silent screams stretching towards her, begging for release, mimicking memories of their laughter. The joy that once filled those sounds now twisted into something horrifying. A new realization dawned upon Sarah. They're not just shadows. They're our fears, our guilt. She shouted, the words spilling out as clarity struck her like lightning. This is what he wants. We have to face it, Lucas. The cavern shook, as if the ground itself was repulsed by the truth that hung in the air like fog. What if we can't? Lucas whispered, his voice small, lost under the oppressive weight of darkness. I know it's scary, but we can't let them win. We have to remember who they were to us. Sarah felt a surge of determination, forcing herself to steady her voice. We loved them. We can't let them take that away. The moment stretched, silence creeping in, allowing desperation to breathe. Sarah dug deep into her memories, each cherished smile, every tiny moment bursting with love and warmth. Her insides twisted and turned, shadows clawing at the edges of her mind, but she focused, reliving the best days. Come on, Lucas! She urged him, pulling him toward the glowing locket. Think of the summer picnics, the bedtime stories. As if hearing her, the shadowy forms faltered, inching back for just a moment. Their grotesqueness wavered, and flickers of familiarity started to shine through the viscous blackness. Their friends, their joy. Yes, Lucas shouted, eyes glistening with understanding. That's right. Remember the games at the lake? The way we'd all laugh? The shadows shrank, realizing their grips were loosening. Sarah and Lucas shared that moment, igniting the memories into a brilliant blaze of light that rose high. Keep going. We're so close. Sarah gasped, their fear morphing into resonance as warmth filled the space. But the mayor, red-faced and fuming, unleashed one final attack. You think you can erase them? You're playing with fire. His voice shook with fury as the cavern walls began to close in. They will never be yours again. With a deafening roar, he conjured the shadows into a black wave, crashing towards them, a maelstrom desperate to extinguish the flickering light. It was suffocating, wrapping around her like a cold, clammy blanket, tugging at Sarah's very heart. Hold on! Lucas cried, squeezing her hand. In a last-ditch effort, Sarah raised the locket high, focusing on every joyous moment she could remember. You don't own us. You can't take what we've built. With that declaration, a surge of gold erupted from the locket, filling the cavern like a cleansing fire. The mayor's twisted sneer faltered, revealing a glimmer of uncertainty. That rush of warmth surged through Sarah, igniting the courage within her bones. But as the blinding light illuminated the cavern, shadows seemed to shuffle, as if they had teeth now, gnashing with a hungry menace. Sarah! Lucas screamed, terror saturating his voice once more. The cavern shook violently as darkness clawed its way up the walls. The light could only hold so much back. What had they awakened? Was this truly the end, or just the beginning of something far worse? With a shattering crack, the ceiling above them splintered, and Sarah gasped in horror as she watched jagged pieces of rock cascade towards them. Would the truth be their salvation or doom? We have to get out, she yelled, adrenaline surging, merging the urgency of flight with the need for survival. But then, with eyes wide, they noticed a figure standing among the shadows. The mayor was transforming, reshaping, becoming something they had never anticipated, and it was he looking away. What were they facing now? The cavern roared as the shadows twisted into a monstrous shape, the mayor's terrifying laughter booming in the chaos. It was like watching a nightmare unfurl in slow motion. The darkness contorted and elongated, morphing into a nightmarish giant that towered above Sarah and Lucas. Fear gripped her heart, but she refused to buckle. No! We are not afraid! She shouted, her voice cutting through the dread. The shimmering light from the locket flickered, illuminating the grotesque figure, revealing scars of the innocent trapped within. With every beat of her heart, she felt a surge. Lucas, focus on our memories. We can banish this. The monstrous mayor lunged, shadowy hands swiping through the air, but Sarah held the locket high, beckoning the warmth and light. Remember our adventures. The summers at the lake, laughter with our friends. That's our strength. Lucas nodded, determination igniting in his eyes. Together, Mom. We can do this. The shadows trembled at their united front. The mayor's face twisted in an expression of fury and disbelief. You are foolish to think love can conquer power. Join your lost ones. Surrender. Never! Sarah screamed back, raising the locket above her head and channeling every ounce of love she possessed. The light blazed brighter, weaving through the air like a golden ribbon, illuminating the pain and sorrow behind them. Shadows retreated, shrieking as the glow pushed them away. The children's faces flickered back to life, memories mixing with joy, illuminating their hollow eyes just for a moment. We can break free. We can remember your laughter. Sarah shouted. Every cherished moment of the past surged through her, each smile, every hug, the scent of summer air and the warmth of family dinners. The cavern quaked as the shadows quivered around her. In this light, we find our strength. Lucas added, the echoes of their love igniting fire within them. The monstrous form of the mayor shrieked, a sound of pure rage that rattled Sarah to her core. You will pay for this. He lunged forward, the darkness clawing at them like a feral beast. Remember who you are. We are family, Sarah shouted with a fierce resolve. And we will always fight for each other. Together, they plunged into their memories, the light from the locket radiating a warmth undeterred by fear. As the light intensified, the monstrous mayor began to shriek, his form trembling under the onslaught. No, no, please! But it was too late. The shadows cracked, splintering apart as the warm glow tore through the darkness. With one final push, they sent the light forth, and the cavern erupted into blinding brilliance. Mom! Lucas called as they were enveloped in the warmth, floating amidst the brilliance. Sarah felt her heart expand with explosive joy as she clutched her son close. The darkness receded, hissing like steam evaporating under the sun. The cavern dissolved, and with it, the mayor's terrifying form shattered, casting a final glare of rage before disappearing into oblivion. The light faded slowly, revealing a familiar scene stretched out before them. Cedar Ridge, returning to its rightful state in the sunlight. The streets were vibrant, children were playing, and the comforting hum of normalcy resonated in the air. It felt like coming home. Lucas looked up at her, eyes wide and alive with wonder. Did we do it? I think we did, Sarah breathed, overwhelmed with relief. We found our way back. Together. They walked hand in hand, the bond between them now undeniably forged, not merely by love but by every challenge they faced. They had conquered the shadows of fear and despair, emerging triumphant. As they stepped into the cheerful bustle of Cedar Ridge, they saw neighbors smiling. Whispers of thankfulness floated in the air as families embraced, indicating that their community too had begun to heal. Fear was replaced with laughter, and where the oppressive shadows once lived, only warmth remained. Sarah turned to Lucas, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Always. Lucas grinned, a spark of mischief kindling in his eyes. Promise? Promise, Sarah replied, pulling him into a hug. They stood wrapped in the embrace of the sun, feeling the weight of the darkness simply fade away, knowing that bright days lay ahead. Seeing the sun set beautifully on Cedar Ridge, Sarah breathed deeply, letting go of the fears that once haunted her. At that moment, she knew they were finally free. If you felt the thrill of this conclusion, you need to subscribe now for more spine-chilling stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button to keep the algorithm pumping. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What part gripped you the most? Don't wait even one more second to share this with 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. The truth must be unleashed.